Citizen Lab was the first to expose the existence of Israel's Pegasus spyware in 2016. They disclosed details of what they called an exploit infrastructure connected to a phone belonging to an activist from the United Arab Emirates. The infiltration, the hack, led to the arrest of Ahmed Mansour, who remains in prison to this day. The new hacking technique was called a zero-day exploit, and Pegasus was the spyware used to infiltrate Mansour's phone. Bill Martzak from Citizen Lab has worked for several years to expose Pegasus.
So what happened in 2016 started with this man, Ahmed Mansour, the activist in the UAE. And he noticed some suspicious messages on his phone that he was getting via SMS. He thought they were weird because they came from unknown numbers and they were promising information about human rights. So he forwarded them to me at Citizen Lab. We had known each other for a while. I got a burner phone, not obviously my real phone, a burner phone, and clicked on the links. And while I was doing this, I was recording the internet traffic and recording the activity on the phone. And what was installed when I clicked the link was a very sophisticated spyware payload. And the interesting question was, well, who could be behind this? Who might have programmed this spyware? Who might have sold it? Who might be using it? And the process to figure that out is called attribution. So what we did in the report is we noticed that when you clicked on the link a second time, it wouldn't cause the infection. It was only limited to the first click. And the second click would send you to a decoy website to try and make it look innocuous or benign. So we clicked on it a second time, we got redirected to Google. But it wasn't just any redirect to Google. It was a very specific piece of code that someone had sat down and written on their computer. So we figured, well, maybe this is part of this spyware somehow, and if we can scan the internet, we can find other servers that have the same weird redirect to Google. So this is exactly what we did. We used the popular open source ZMap program. We scanned the internet and found 149 other servers. And this is where it gets interesting, because this second redirect to Google was also returned by 3 servers, nsoqa.com, qaintqa.com, and mail1.nsogroup.com. And the name here, NSO Group, we found in a brochure in the Israeli government's website. They had a brochure for this company, NSO Group, which is based in Israel and sells a product called Pegasus, which is spyware for mobile phones.
In the case of Pegasus, Citizen Lab did very good work and was very conclusively able to say that Pegasus had been written by NSO Group. But it's actually extremely rare that we're able to get that sort of concrete attribution and say this malware was written by this company.
The NSO Group is a technology company based in Herzliya in Israel. Founded in 2010, it employs over 500 cybersecurity experts. Pegasus spyware is viewed as its most important product.
Israel is one of the most sophisticated cyber actors in the world. And I think that a lot of this is because the Israeli army is training people to do this sort of offensive hacking for, in their military service.
Money. They need to make money.
Tamar El-Mishal spoke to William Binney, who for over 30 years worked with the US National Security Agency. A former cryptographer and later a whistleblower, Binney was the NSA's technical leader of intelligence. Binney has a high-level understanding of the agency's data collection systems.
What that means is any iPhone or any phone in the world, first connecting to the network when you want to use it, you're immediately known worldwide. I mean, all the switches have you, and they capture your IPs and all that in your phone and MAC numbers and all that. That's how they bill you. So that also is known by the network, and the implants, computer network exploitation implants, they have around the world this was in 2004 or 2010, somewhere in that range. They had over 50,000 implants in all these switch servers and networks worldwide. I mean, that means they own the entire network, so that if your phone comes on the air, then they can know who you are and where you are.
When Citizen Lab exposed NSO and its Pegasus spyware in 2016, it attracted worldwide controversy. NSO claims its mission is to develop technology for government agencies to, quote, detect and prevent terrorism and crime. However, the nature of its targets, the individuals whose phones have been hacked, raises questions about these claims. The danger of such spyware is its ability to infiltrate every piece of private information and hack the targeted device through the most used applications. In 2019, WhatsApp, owned by Facebook, accused NSO of hacking the popular communications tool. This raised fear amongst the huge numbers of global users of WhatsApp, especially at a time when some targeted victims appear to meet with dreadful consequences.
נגד האזרחים שלהם כדי לאסוף מידע, וזה לפעמים מסתיים במעשי רצח. ראינו את זה בערב הסעודית עם חשודג'י, שעקבו אחריו, אספו עליו מידע כדי לדעת מה הוא חושב, מה הוא כותב, מה הוא אומר, ובסוף גם עשו עליו את המבצע הזה, המבצע הנורא הזה והמעשי רצח. במקסיקו היה פעם שמשטרת מקסיקו ושירות הביטחון המקסיקני, בעזרת התוכנה הזאת, ככל הנראה עקבו אחרי עיתונאי שידוע היה בביקורתו על המשטרה ועל הממשלה, ויום אחד הוא נעלם.
So if you do think that you are someone who's an important target, you're likely to face scrutiny by some government in the Middle East or elsewhere, and you are a journalist, an activist, or a member of civil society, I'd recommend that, yes, please do get in touch with Citizen Lab or other researchers who work in this space.
The conventional way to hack a smartphone is to send a suspicious message to the targeted phone that includes a short text and a link. When the user clicks on the link, software takes control of the phone and thus makes the device accept any command sent through the link. The device is then automatically connected to a server used by the hackers, and that is how the spyware gets installed on the phone. The user doesn't see the spyware on their phone, which has already been hacked. The hackers can then control the device and all its functions. The main challenge for spyware is to find a vulnerability in the targeted phone, particularly as modern smartphone security protection techniques have developed significantly. Pegasus managed to advance this capability considerably to be able to penetrate various kinds of smartphone.
Once the infection happened, the malware itself did the same stuff that we see a lot of malware do, which is spy on phone calls, spy on text messages and WhatsApp messages and any other encrypted messages you're sending, and turn on your microphone and turn on your camera. What made it especially sophisticated was that they were willing to use brand new exploits for iPhones to infect their victims. And some of these exploits could cost upwards of $1 million.
Each supply of Pegasus spyware to its clients costs millions of dollars, and it can only be used for a limited period of time. That means targeting a large number of smartphones for long periods of time costs hundreds of millions of dollars. This extremely expensive cost raises questions. Who can afford this spyware? Who are NSO Group's main clients? On its website, NSO Group says its spyware is, quote, used exclusively by government intelligence as officially requested by the governments themselves. Does this mean that Pegasus cannot be purchased by other parties?
When people leave the Israeli military service, they have all this very specialized, very highly sought after, well-paid knowledge. And so they take it to private companies such as NSO Group, right? And then they sell it to countries that are known to violate human rights. Because, even though they are, perhaps very intelligent about computer security, they clearly haven't thought so much about the human rights implications of what they're doing, or maybe they don't care.
פגסוס זה חברה פרטית שמוכרת, היא טוענת שהיא מוכרת את זה רק לגופים רשמיים, כמו משטרות, שירותי ביטחון של מדינות, אבל יכול להיות שזה הגיע גם לגורמים אחרים, אף אחד לא יודע, והיא מוכרת את זה לאותן ממשלות. אז היא מכרה את זה למקסיקו, היא מכרה, עד כמה שאני מבין, לערב הסעודית, היא מכרה לאיחוד האמירויות, והיא מכרה בקולומביה ובהרבה מאוד מדינות בעולם.
Few days after he had aired an investigative documentary about an Indian tycoon, which disclosed controversial leaked documents about the tycoon's links to the UAE and his flight from that country. Al-Mishal had used the same phone to communicate with officials and individuals in the UAE in order to give them the right to reply to the allegations in the film.
So the first thing that we saw on your phone was on July 19th, between about 10:33 and 11:28 a.m. GMT. There were a very high number of connections to Apple servers. Now, usually your phone will just communicate with one Apple server for iCloud, for your backups, for your contacts, syncing the information. But in this case, in less than an hour, we saw your phone communicate with 18 different Apple servers. And this was very unusual. You don't usually see this on phones. So that was the first clue that something suspicious was going on. And immediately after this communication stopped, we saw your phone reach out to this website, regularhours.net. In other words, your phone connected to this website. And this website stands out because we know from our research at Citizen Lab that regularhours.net, this website, is linked to NSO Group's Pegasus spyware. So we saw your phone reaching out to this NSO Pegasus spyware server, which led us to suspect and then later conclude that your phone was infected. So what we can see from the recording of your internet traffic, so let's go to this point in time here, 11:29, where the phone communicates with the Pegasus server. And we can look beforehand to see what was going on immediately before that. And the only thing that we see is this communication with iCloud, with Apple servers. We don't see any evidence that you pressed on a link or clicked on anything or went to any website. So what we think happened is that these communications with the Apple servers delivered the initial exploit to hack your phone. In other words, you didn't click on anything, your phone was automatically hacked, a so-called zero-click, like we say. Zero-click exploit delivered through Apple servers. This is a very expensive exploit. Yes, this is, if you think about the sophistication of exploits to break into phones, this is as good as it gets.
Zero-click means hacking without clicking on any links. Pegasus does not require any action by the user or a click on any suspicious links. The user receives a call from an unknown caller through the internet, and the phone gets hacked even without answering the phone call. After that, Pegasus spyware is installed on the targeted phone, taking full control of the device.
Well, it's definitely the most sophisticated attack I've seen in the last few years. The fact it was able to be installed on a target's device without the target even clicking on anything, so a zero-click attack, this is incredibly impressive. And like I say, very rarely seen. To be able to do that, it's so sophisticated, but as it is rare, it is difficult for us to really know much more about it. If something of this magnitude was able to be conducted to steal such data, this is a bit of a worry.
The zero-click process enabled complete access to all the applications and content on his phone.
As far as we know, they can access everything on the phone. We saw from looking at the log files on your phone that they were able to access the media framework, so they were able to turn on the microphone, turn on the camera if they wanted to, and listen into meetings or conversations going on around your device. They were also able to tap into the keychain on the phone. This is where your passwords for email accounts, social media may be stored.
The fact that Citizen Lab was tracking Tamer's phone helped him take precautionary measures to prevent sensitive information being accessed. The most important thing was for him to discover the moment the hacking took place.